That was
Hello.
catchy. Man, I like that. Good
Yeah,
job. Good job
it
making
was
that.
better than waiting for 2 minutes with no sound, whispering to ourselves.
Now you
Um,
say that, I played back that video from our stream on Friday, and it cracked me up with us just whispering behind the curtain. That was I loved that. I
can
thought that was super funny.
can they hear us?
Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna mute that. All right, what are we here today for, Andres?
We are here for another great live stream where we are going to try the artifacts feature for Claude Anthropic's LLM, but they have the artifacts feature that you mentioned early in the week. Hey, we should probably try this. And we'll go over what it is, right? But in a simple sense, it's you prompt it and it can create an artifact of basically whether that's a code snippet, a full single page application, and stuff like that, which is pretty awesome. So wanted to take that for a spin.
Yes, and to say it in fewer words, it makes things for you.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
because a lot of times, I've been using Chat GPT and honestly Claude for writing code for, I guess it's been close to a year and a half now. And the experience, it's not terrible. Could it be better? Yes. And that's kind of why we're here. But, usually when you ask Chat GPT, how do I do this? Or it can write me a script that does X, Y, or Z. It does that in your chat window. And one of the innovations that Anthropic came out with recently is coming up with what they refer to as artifacts, which is just like a side by side panel to your chat conversation, where it actually is like in the context of coding, what we're going to do, more or less a file explorer. So it has different tabs for different files, and it kind of uses that as a workspace. So we're going to assess how far can we get. And honestly, I think this is going to be closer to what I was expecting when you and I were testing out Amazon App Studio,
Yep.
because that was marketed as a Gen AI app builder. But really, what we found out on that is it's a generative AI bootstrapper and a low code builder.
Yep. Exactly.
So we will see if uh, Claude's
Gets
artifacts
us
kind of
further.
live up
Yeah.
to the expectations that we had for that other thing. And I'm excited to try it. I was actually using it yesterday, not in prep for this, which is bad because I should be prepping for these live streams. I was I was using it for some stuff I was building for Memento for the dev docs. It was like a schema renderer, and it actually worked really really well. So I'm excited to try it for something a little bit bigger than something that renders a JSON schema on screen.
Sure thing. So let me show a little bit of kind of the announcement or the article that came out. Well, it says updated over a week ago, but probably was released a week ago. When was this released? Do you know?
Do you want me to share your screen because it's just you and I right now?
Yeah,
There we
it's
go.
there. I got it.
Did it
Uh,
over a week ago. Does it have a tooltip for when it was released? It's not. I mean, when we're talking about cutting edge AI, it's not super new because I feel like things that are super new are things that were released yesterday, and this was released. I don't know, honestly, probably like close to a month ago.
okay, cool. So basically, it's when does Claude use the artifacts, right? And the biggest thing here is when it's self-contained and it's typically more than 15 lines. The first time I read this is like I read it as less, but no, it makes sense. It's when it's more, it's gonna separate it into its own little artifact that you can then use. Something you would probably want to edit, complex piece of content that stands on its own without requiring extra conversation context, and content you're likely wanting to refer back, right? So pretty strict on when and we can put it to the test. I know I tested yesterday a little bit. I was playing around with it, like, okay, at what point does it actually create an artifact for me? And I was just, hey, create or write code for formatting first name, last name, and middle name, right? And that did it in line. Then I added more complexity. Okay, read an item from DynamoDB, then parse the response to format the date and the names, right? And that did just automatically pop it into an artifact, and we'll see how all that looks. And then I tried the first prompt again and just told it make an artifact, and it did it. So you can probably force it to use an artifact. Don't know if you always want that though. It talks about the common examples, so Markdown, code snippets, full websites, SVGs, diagrams, and flowcharts, and the cool one, interactive React components, which is nice. Anything else you would want to call out before we start diving in, Alan?
No, I really just kind of want to get in there and give more or less first impressions when we're using it, and
cool.
And relate. What I want to do really is relate this to App Studio a lot from kind of what we're doing standpoint. What I think App Studio, the way that App Studio is marketed right now, what it should be, versus what it actually is.
Cool. So here I am in Claude.ai to create a new prompt, right? So this is where we start. We are on the free plan, right? So we'll try to be as thorough as possible with our prompts and not be like me when you're chatting with me, where I send a little snippet, then send the message, then another snippet, send the message, and just a lot of iterations. So we'll try to be thorougher, if that's a word.
More thorough.
More thorough. There we go. Okay.
So before, are we just going to dive into building what we want, or are we doing something else first?
I don't have anything else, so I was just going to dive in, so we can
right, let's talk about
what we're going to be building. Do you have a link?
Nope.
It is
under my GitHub.
Alan Helton Dev.
Honestly, I don't remember what
it is GPS.
We can find it from here. Oh,
look at that. GPS framework. There it is. Framework GPS test. So we have this little framework that we try to use to assess things, right? So if you've watched any other streams where we're trying any type of platform as a service or infrastructure as a service or any of those, we try to see how far we can take it in building this. So let me do a little bit of a close-up. So it's basically building CRUDL, right? So an API where we can do a get, do a post, do a put, do a delete. And then a way for tracking GPS and data points to then be able to transfer that or communicate that to a UI using some sort of WebSocket, or in the case, sometimes we've used Memento topics for that bi-directional communication to keep something up to date in real time. I think that's the crux of it. So it's getting into API, event-driven triggers, complex data structures, and real-time notifications. Those are the main pieces that this assesses. And this is what we're going to try. We can do exactly what we did with App Studio and just take in the requirements.
I think we should. And what I think we should do as well is also bring in the why to kind of anchor the decision making of Claude. So the section right under that has requirements and why these requirements.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want this text as well? Do you think it's beneficial?
No, not for what we need Claude to do.
Ooh-wee. I think that's enough.
Hold on, you can't just paste this in.
That's what you did.
But you don't
Isn't that what we did with App Studio?
Yes, that is what we did with App Studio, because it was asking for a list of requirements. It wasn't just opening up a world of just give me a prompt. So yeah, you got it. Just say I need an app that does this. And so what this will do, if we think back to that that documentation that Andres was just showing for artifacts is this will automatically bring in that artifact window, which should pop in on the right-hand side of the browser session. So
You
it'll
ready?
talk.
I'm a little bit
Yeah, let's do it.
nervous. So much. Boom. There, this is how you know it started creating an artifact. It's in a separate document, right?
Yep. Okay, so it says it's created a plan.
Can we tell it to execute the plan?
Probably to start implementing this application, we should begin with the backend. Would you like me to provide the code for setting up the initial Express.js server and defining the session and data points models using MongoDB? So we can, at this point, we can probably give it some implementation details. We can, let's anchor it. Let's just say yes. Let's start building this application. And then since ultimately we'll be maintaining this, let's use what we know. So it already said that it's using Express.js, which to me says it's going to be using JavaScript. So we should still explicitly state it. We should still say build this using JavaScript. If you want, you can specify Node, and then we can also probably specify any other implementation details that we want. So if we want to say have this, AWS serverless, and then do you want it? Looks like it has in mind using Mongo. That's fine. Yeah, let's see what it does with this.
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay, it's using Lambda for serverless functions,
DynamoDB.
API gateway, DynamoDB. So it moved away from Mongo.
It's using serverless framework. Yeah. Data point Lambda handler.
This is pretty awesome.
Just
watching it code the whole app. We're gonna be done in 15 minutes, and 10 of those minutes was just us talking. Look at that. It's even using parameterized environment variables. It is using Node 14, which I think is interesting if you look at that definition file that it's building out.
Wow. Okay. So it did a lot. Let's go back to this. So let's analyze, and I'll start copying this out into VS Code just for us.
There's a download button at the bottom. We should change it. Let's use it. Let's see how much we can iterate on this. Now, one of the things that we're trying to do, Andres, I'll just say it for everybody watching, is our plan here is to not just throw out as many prompts as we can, because we're using the free version, and the free version does have a limited number of prompts that you can do. It'll throttle you after a certain amount. So we do need to intentionally, before you hit enter, we need to decide what we want it to do on the next iteration.
I'm just brainstorming a little bit. So update to use Node.js 20.
Let's have it
AWS
use
SDK v3.
Yeah, v3. What else are we noticing?
Do
you want it
serverless
to use
framework versus SAM?
Yeah, let's switch the IAC. What else? We want,
let's see. UUID is fine. We don't need, I can live with that. Console use power
using CommonJS. Do you want it to switch?
Not a deal breaker, but we can try. So use Node.js. Update to use Node.js, ECMA script modules instead of CommonJS, or do you just tell it? Do you like to be more explicit?
I don't know. I don't think it matters with that. There's not a lot of things that are up for interpretation there.
Update the infrastructure as code to use SAM. So let's browse this a little bit. DynamoDB, that looks good. Serverless framework configuration.
We'll update that.
It even named it the same way I name it. Oh.
I will say I have been significantly more impressed with Sonnet 3.5, which is what we're using here, versus GPT 4.0. for coding ability. And then, you know what? Just for kicks, let's have it create unit tests as well.
It's part of. Do I have to be this nice?
You never have to be nice to LLMs.
That's true, but you never know. Do you want Jest, Mocha, anything specific?
What are you most comfortable with?
Mocha, Chai, Mocha, as and the testing framework, Chai for assertion, Synon for mocking. Mocking.
Okay, let's do that. That seems to be, that'll give us a good iteration, especially if it does all the things that we're asking for.
Just look at the code. Yeah, let's do it. Update, ECMA, SDK, SAM, unit test.
Now this is a lot of tokens. Like this, there's a lot going on here, both for input and output. You know, I think it has to take in that whole workspace as tokens, as context.
Well, yeah, because it has the. And look at that. It has versions of each of them.
Does it? It's pretty awesome.
Maybe that one doesn't because it's a completely new.
Oh wow, look at that.
implementation,
It's using, I saw in here, it had triggers from EventBridge. It has EventBridge
Look at the
rules
test.
in here.
It's doing the test.
Oh man. Wow. Wow.
Oh, I think I'm gonna get fired after my boss sees this.
You
He's
might
like,
get a
"Do you
raise.
act-"
Maybe you'll
or
get a
I get
raise.
it. Like you do. What do you do, Andres? Nothing.
I'm a prompt engineer.
A prompt engineer, yeah. Okay, so let's look at this. Create the session. So it's now using commands. Um, I don't know if this is the correct import.
It's not.
Yeah.
Well, I actually don't know. I don't know what libdynamodb is. It's importing things that I don't use from there.
Yeah, because I usually just import everything from here.
Yeah.
So we might
And
need
that's
to
okay.
modify
I
the.
mean, this is getting us so far down the road in
Yeah.
seconds.
Session params. This is the item. ID active. Weather's null. Oh man.
It's even using the correct status codes, which is super nice. This is like exactly how I
Yeah.
code.
Yeah. Return body JSON stringify. You get the ID, even a timestamp if you wanted to, which is not fully
Let's see the
necessary.
SAM template. Let's look at that. That's going to give us a good idea for what it's built.
Async processing. You can see its update. So this is the cool thing. You got the history, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, SAM template, transform GPS tracking app, some globals. This looks exactly how I do stuff too.
So awesome.
Type. I didn't check. It's imports. It's ESM. Okay. Create
Okay.
function. It's got
The
the
event's going to
API.
need updating. That's not quite right. It's missing for the triggering event, it's missing which API it needs to connect to, but that's minor.
No, it's something I learned throughout the years. If you don't specify any, there's one created by default just named API. You can just keep using it. So this works. It creates one for you under
Wow. Okay, I'm learning. I've been using SAM for like 5 years, and I just learned that today. Dang.
I've created like 35 APIs for my personal projects. I had to learn this somehow.
Fair enough. Now it's not. I am not seeing the role definitions in here, the permission sets for anything.
Let's see. Async processing, tables. Yeah, this
Yeah, it doesn't
probably,
have
yeah,
that,
because,
but that's fine. It got us so far.
oh, look,
Now
what's this? Hold on. How did I get that? Oh, there, improve. Explain.
oh, I like this. Wow.
This is, let me go through some.
Stop here. So this is setting that up. Scroll up a little bit. This Lambda function. Yeah, okay. This is the one
So
that's
yeah,
triggered asynchronously by an event bridge rule.
Yeah, which then should be triggered here, right? Asynchronous get data point count. Where is it sending the message? Promise all session will enrich, get data points, update distance and velocity.
It doesn't look like it's doing great error handling, but honestly, neither do I when I write code.
I mean, it has console error. Yeah, I guess it's just swallowing the error.
Yeah, but I mean, this is an async. It's an async process, so I mean, your other option here is to put it in a queue or something.
I like the versions because if you messed up the prompt, there's probably like this is I don't know
Yeah,
what
do you
the
remember
publish does
when
yet.
you and I were testing out Postbot inside of Postman? It was
Like
essentially a destructive operation every time you had to iterate.
I just lost everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So if you hit
So
download, Andres, if you hit that download button down there, is
I
that
think
the
I think
single
it's just
thing or
a
is that
single
everything?
file.
And what is publish? What happens if you hit that publish button?
I'm
What does that do?
let's see. Publishing this art will make it accessible to anyone on the internet. Your chat will remain private. Be sure the artifacts you're publishing doesn't include it. Yeah. Unpublished.
Interesting.
This is it's kind of what's the Git thing? Glips? No,
Gist? A gist?
gist. Yeah. You can publish a gist, I guess, in the artifact
Yeah.
repository there. This is
So what else
nice.
do we need? I guess at this point we really should kind of look at it as a whole
Yeah,
because
so
I
start.
don't really know.
Let
I
me.
don't know what we need because we can only
Yeah.
look at one file at a time.
Yeah, this is where like nested VS Code would be nice here, and you get the files and you can just navigate at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um,
And what's that set? If you click on the settings button in the upper right, what are our options? Oh, this is
chat
chat. Okay.
control.
All right.
Oh no. Oh, there it is. Oh, so it's the. Oh, look at that. Okay, so I get all the list of artifacts.
Oh, so each
Two
thing is
versions,
an
one version.
artifact.
Is there a
No
download all? That would
content.
be nice.
Kind of surprised that there's
And
not.
more
And
to
so that's stuff
summarize
that
knowledge.
we've given it, that content down
So
there.
if you think about the full life cycle, right? You start a project, you get the requirements, you have a list. You can add that maybe as an artifact to then use to generate this, right? So you got
Mm-hmm.
your testing plan or your acceptance criteria, your conditions of satisfaction, all that. You can
Ah,
just import it. It's crazy.
so I'm wondering if while we move this, let's have it generate the front end.
Okay. So what do we want the front end to be? A map?
Yes.
So okay, let's start working. Let's work on the front end. I'm, I just treat it like a real
That's
person.
fine. It understands what you're saying.
Let's work on the front end. Um, you want React?
Of course. I
We
mean, the
want
easiest thing
a
for us to do,
React application.
I don't know. What do you think? Do you think the easiest thing for us to do would probably just be like a server-side rendered page that automatically updates when there's a new data point? We could do that instead of having all the heavy lifting of an entire framework.
Yeah.
So yeah, make it do that. Make it say, let's work on the front end, have it be pages that are served through Lambda using plain HTML and JavaScript.
Plain HTML and JavaScript.
And then
Any
you can
specific
describe what you
tools?
want the pages to have. Huh?
The pages, or it's just a page, right? The page should have a map where it's going to be receiving messages from the backend to update
A
the
route.
map with a route.
Yeah, I would say probably need. there's some assumptions in there. So I would say update the map with data points of a route.
With data points of a route received via WebSockets, right? Or what did it do? Did it do WebSocket?
It didn't do anything for that yet. Not that I saw, but I mean, we can certainly look. You can just say via real-time notification, so we don't make it do. We don't anchor its decision-making process on that.
What else?
Okay.
You ready?
I'm extremely interested in what this is going to output.
It doesn't like my JavaScript. Here we go.
The S is capitalized in
Yeah.
JavaScript.
Okay, so I'll start downloading these while it's generating that. Oh, what happened? Oh, well, it's generating. Okay. Will
I
it
guess
keep
we'll just wait.
generating?
But
Yeah,
you
I
already
don't.
have VS Code up?
Yes. Beep.
Okay, great.
Nothing.
No, we'll just drop this
Update
stuff in there.
Lambda.
Okay, so it is
Look at
using
that. It's
WebSockets.
creating it's creating the WebSockets for us, and it's updating the backend based on our requirements for the front end.
I'm
We
curious
have a
what
little wow
if you hit.
sound. Is it?
Maybe yeah, we do. Okay, so if you download this, it's it's doing some assumptions here. It's putting in the comment that says yeah, and the rest of what I said before.
Oh yeah, I see. Rest of template. Okay, I'm trying to think. Final, let's update our SAM. Okay, this one's giving us sort of example or instruction. Where do I start? Okay, so updated
I'm wondering
SAM.
if it's worth trying to to say give me everything in its final render in a zip file. Let's see if it does that. I'm willing to use one of our prompts for that. What about you?
Yes, give me everything in its final state in a zip file. Give me every artifact in its final state in a zip file.
Curious what
Please?
it's going to do. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do
okay.
it.
1, 2, 3, go. But as an AI, I don't have the capability to create modifiers and zip files. However, I can provide you with a summary of all the artifacts we've created.
Well, dang, we wasted a message and now we only have 3 left.
Where does it say? Oh, no.
Right there.
Until
Dang it.
3 p.m. It's 10:30 here. Dang. Okay, but I think we can manage with 3 prompts as how far we've gotten already.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay.
So it looks
So I
like these
guess
are
I'll
in
just
chronological order with the most recent ones are at the bottom.
dyslexic friendly. Okay.
That's nice.
I don't want the plan, so I'm gonna open up a folder over here with my downloads. Okay. So I'm just gonna start downloading and we'll figure it out. So I just wish I could download from the main page. Okay, so download, create session handler, serverless framework. No, we don't want that one. Data point handler, 2 versions, download. Serverless framework, we don't want that. Asynchronous processing, download.
Just start from the bottom. Start from the bottom. Let's work our way up. It's nice that it even includes that package JSON.
I'm already halfway here. So package JSON. It tells you when it was last updated too. So package JSON, the test, Chrome, serve HTML via Lambda handler.
So I would say this is probably the worst part of the entire experience right here. If you are having it generate multiple files or an entire application, this part could be better.
WebSocket handler. I mean, I love that change the backend based on a front end requirement, right? To get updates from the backend.
Yeah. Yes.
So I did WebSocket handler, disconnect handler. Nice. It even disconnects.
Man, I gave a talk at EDA Day last year, Nashville, talking about how awful it was in the AWS ecosystem to build a notification service with API gateway WebSockets. And now I feel like I can't give that talk anymore. How easy it is with Claude. Dang.
Okay. I'm moving this to my VS Code. So 1 second, and I'll pop that open. Cloud artifacts. Okay. Whew. Here we are. So SAM template. Did a TXT. It's weird. YAML. Okay, so global arm. I kind of want to do the comparison with the updated, see what this is. Or oh, this one didn't fully open.
I almost feel like we need to merge the
So,
original with updated and then that merge with final.
yeah, so here it's this, right? So it has the 3 dots. And this is what we're adding here as far as resources, right? Previous resources.
Has a new
There we are, git
parameter.
tabbing. Then a new parameter, WebSocket stage name, which we can hard code. Oh,
I
look
guess
at that. So it didn't
we
say,
didn't have parameters before. Okay.
yeah. Like parameters before my globals. And output, it's a new output. So I guess you can find I mean, you can automate a little bit of this if you wanted.
Yep. Honestly, you could probably ask as well.
Something's red. Did not expect to find a key. Is this? Oh,
Is it indent is off? Yeah.
there. Yeah. Okay. So we're done with this one. I'm going to delete it because this looks fine, right?
Yeah.
Timeout node architectures. Timeout node architectures. Cool. So close this. And we still have an error here. Error resource with ID WebSocket is invalid. Event with ID WebSocket. Okay, so WebSocket connection function. CFN lint protecting me. WebSocket is invalid.
Event type. So it's looking on. It's probably on the function that is like the connect and disconnect. Yeah, like that. It made that up.
But oh, this type. Okay.
Yeah, that's made up.
Mm.
I'll look what that's supposed to be. Why don't you go ahead and merge
Okay.
the last one?
The final. This looks the same. Previous. So we're adding WebSocket connection table. I'll add it with the other table. I'll just add it to the bottom. Update environment variables for relevant functions. So it does tell you need to do some stuff.
It's missing quite a few things for connecting the WebSocket.
Add data point WebSocket connection function. Oh, I see. Okay. Add data point is update previous properties, environment variables. So session table data point. So it's adding these two. Oh.
So as expected, the WebSocket piece of this app is making everything a little bit more complicated.
Yeah. Where's WebSocket connection function? Connect function. Oh, it didn't have environment variables. So this is in line with this. Okay.
While you're doing that, since you're just talking to yourself, for everyone that has joined us recently, we have been going, Andres and I have been going back and forth with Claude Sonnet 3.5 and asking it to build an application for us. And this is the same application we've built in Amped. We've built it in I don't know, a couple different frameworks. We used Amazon App Studio as well, and I think something else I forget. It's a GPS app, one that records GPS coordinates and then ultimately renders a web page and allows you to track a route on that map. And what we're doing now, well, hold on. And so Claude basically wrote all the code. Everything that you see in VS Code right there that was on the screen was generated by Claude. And it had broke out every single one of the files. We iterated on it a couple of different times. And now what we're doing is we're bringing that in to Visual Studio Code to see, is it complete? What did it make? Just get a little bit easier of a view. One of the feedback that we'll send over to the Anthropic team is that when you're managing multiple files where you have multiple artifacts, it's not great to see kind of the big picture. So we're going into Visual Studio Code to get that big picture. So are you all caught up, Andres?
Yes.
Okay.
So just fixing the WebSocket event stuff.
Yeah, so it's missing a considerable amount of things. I'm going to send you a URL to the WebSocket repo that I built. And you can see the resources that it's missing.
Come on. It's opening on a different.
So what we're running into right now is a hallucination from Claude, from Sonnet, for things that exist. So
Okay, I'll open it. How do we want to do this? So WebSocket API.
so we have that. That's missing. We probably have to do that at least. Oh no, it's right there. Okay,
It's
cool.
there.
I'm glad that's not
WebSocket
missing.
API.
And so we have the
Name,
stage.
protocol, and the
So
route
the piece that was
expression.
missing that I saw, it's not necessarily the authorizer, but it's the integration and route.
So we don't need to secure this. We're good. Connect route.
That's
This.
one. That is a resource that I didn't see.
Let me see. It's route. Okay, let's look for route. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. It's doing it via Lambda function though.
Yes, but it's saying that's made up. I mean, I can check.
This is doing it lambda-less, right?
No,
I'd rather do this. No? Where's the lambda
nope.
function?
It's down in the integration on 169.
Oh, look at that.
So that's where it points the route to the Lambda function itself. Because at the time when I built this, there was not one of those handy SAM triggers that does WebSocket.
I'm very grateful you built things to work in the GovCloud as well, Alan. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, do you want me to copy this? And the yeah, because there's no event, right? So we just need to tie it this way. Oh, where am I? Here. So the connect function is here, but we need to do it like this. Missing tab. Connect. We don't want authorization. Operation name. Target this. WebSocket API. It's this. Okay, that matches. Proxy to our function, which is this. Does that make sense, Senor Allen?
Oh, I'm looking at the AWS docs.
Ah. And I'll just comment this out for now. See if we get less CFN-lint errors. Yay, we only got 2 now. Now it's the disconnect function. Disconnect function. So we don't like you. I'll go back to Allen's disconnect route. Oh, we need a permission connect route.
Yeah, I don't see WebSocket as a supported event trigger. Now, this is something we could come back to if you wanted.
The WebSocket stuff?
Yeah.
Because I can copy this, and I think we'll be most of the way there. Is it going to work
Okay,
out?
great.
I don't
And
know.
all things considered, if this is everything that you had to do to fill in the missing pieces from an entire application, I mean, we've really only been going for about 30 minutes right now at best. And being able to have an application that does server-side rendering of a
Let's
map with a
see.
route on it that has a WebSocket connection plus a full API that tracks different sessions and data points along that session, runs analytics on it. That's pretty impressive. And it's built in the same basically style as what you and I are comfortable with. So I would
Yeah.
feel very comfortable taking something like this and beginning to own it from more or less point forward.
One last one, Alan. This one. Okay, so now disconnect. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many things. Oh yeah. Okay, so I think this is the message one.
This is one of the main reasons. Well, there's a lot of reasons. This is one of the big reasons why I prefer something, a simpler abstraction over this, like Memento Topics to handle the real-time notifications versus this.
Okay, I'm just gonna comment this, Alan.
It's not even that satisfying know, knowing how to do this. Because now we have to own this, 400 lines of code that all it's doing is publishing a message down to a browser.
Why is it still compliant? Oh, the error's moved somewhere else.
That's
API
progress in my
ID. Isn't it called WebSocket API? WebSocket API.
It's lowercase s on the ones that are complaining.
What? Oh, there, I see it. My
You can always
eyes.
tell an experienced programmer because they know to look at capitalization of the letters.
Remember, I'm an enterprise architect. I don't know anything.
That's right. That's true. You don't know how to code anymore.
No.
Gave that up. I remember early in my career when I was still a junior developer, I was building an API for a WCF service or something, and I didn't really understand the capitalization thing, where that matters, where capitalization matters of your variable names. And I I spent, I'm not even kidding, 4 hours trying to track down an issue that just didn't make sense why it wasn't working. And it came down to there being a capital S next to a lowercase s in
Mm.
one of my event handler names. And that was it. That was the whole thing. I was so
What if we
embarrassed. That took so long.
start simple? npm install. Let's see the package JSON. Mocha test, run the
Lib
test.js. Where's the
DynamoDB is
test?
probably going to fail, unless that's a real package.
I think, oh, but yeah, I can live with 50 vulnerability. npm test. Let's try that. Missing the script test. It's here. What? It didn't seem to. Am I in the correct? Yeah.
Well,
Package JSON. No, the name of the package JSON is not correct.
it's also looking for file names that end in .test.js, and your test file is -test.js.
So it's this instead of that.
There you go.
How did it find vulnerability?
What
What is
on
it?
earth is
Visitor.
it installing? Goodness. Does it normally take this long to install the AWS SDK on your machine?
Yes.
It does. Okay. All
I
right,
have a lot
that's
of
fine then.
software, security
Yeah.
software running.
No, I get it. I get it. That's fine.
Okay, there's no folder. So let's just do this. File save.
So in a real life scenario where we're actually trying to do this for real, there's a little bit of solution jumbling that we'll have to do. Structuring it in a very specific way because the artifacts that we got, I think, assumed a flat solution.
It's just giving you artifacts, then you just take them and do as you please, right? So it's not
Yep.
creating a full solution for you as far as structure wise. But yeah,
You
I
could
mean,
ask
based on
it.
the standpoint, we have 3 more prompts, Alan. I don't know.
Yes, well, we're almost out of time as well.
Oh, it's 45 already? Okay, so what do you want to do? What do you want to try?
I most care about seeing if this will deploy as is into the cloud more than I am getting the unit tests to run.
Okay, so let me do null check. Log in.
Do you think it will deploy?
No.
Where is the faith?
I've um I've lost it throughout the years. I've learned to rather be impressed than be disappointed.
Fair enough. That's hard for me to argue that statement.
Okay,
Uh, okay, so let's try to
so
get this to build and deploy, and then I feel like we should wrap it up with some thoughts.
yeah, yeah.
It's looking
Set,
the template file is sam-template. Yeah,
yeah, naming. It's really messing me up.
naming
Okay,
things is one of the 2 hardest things in computer science.
it's true. We'll see. So this is doing. It's not doing anything in parallel. It's what, 5 functions? Should
Yep.
be fine.
So seeing how long it took your machine to do an npm install, I imagine this will probably take the rest of the time getting getting this to build. Because there's
That's
a
why I
decent amount of
love.
functions.
That's why I always use GitHub to deploy my stuff. It's faster to push the code and run a deployment through my branch.
I imagine none of these are going to work. Looking at it, because
It's
I'm just looking
cleaning.
at the names of the files. The names of the files have handler in them, and I don't think. Yeah, see the route
Oh, true.
for the handler isn't gonna
I guess
sound
it
fair.
is assuming a project structure that we did not follow. So let's see. Handlers. How many are there? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, it's the test.
So Michael joined us on Twitch, and he's running his color commentary for us. Michael, you joined
uh,
us kind of at the tail end of this thing. We're only going for an hour today. Figured that's all we needed because Claude was going to write everything for us, and
kind of
it
did.
it kind of did. It kind of did. Where is the point, Andres, for you, where you can say, I'd rather just do it myself? Like, is there, because what we had to do when we're taking the artifacts that Claude generated and moving them over to VS Code, there were a lot of resources that were not right. There were several hallucinations we had to fix. Now there are file names that we have to change. There's folder structures that we need to make. Um, is that still worth doing to you in your head compared to starting everything from scratch, or taking everything kind of as is, and then also, yes, starting from scratch, but kind of doing that copy paste replace or kind of build from that as a template?
So I want to keep playing around with this, but this is how, look at that. So it did build. How
Oh yeah.
well, but yeah, it didn't build anything. How did it work? It probably didn't build anything. No, I guess it did. Look at that.
All right,
I don't know how.
yeah, deploy it.
I'm
Deploy it
skeptical.
while we talk.
Guided. So I would start. I usually have templates, pre-built templates of how I start a REST API, right? And with
Mhm,
API gateway, Lambda functions, step functions, and all that. I would and I'd need to see how the you providing files works. Let's just do, and then I would go, okay, let's add an endpoint to do this, right? And I would go smaller scale, and
yep.
that's because it's harder to piece everything together. Or I would do a smaller app, but it's doing too much in a single go, which is nice, but then you have to structure everything yourself. Um, yeah, I need to play around with it to see how I would tackle these. But I think right now where it's at, it's smaller chunks. So start building the application. Yeah, I got the plan. Okay, let's start building this requirement first, and then boom, boom, boom. Then next requirement, boom, boom, boom. So it has the whole context, and you're pulling the files. You have all the artifacts that you can keep iterating there, and then just pull
Mhm.
out.
Yeah, we definitely should not have started with that WebSocket requirement. That one just added a tremendous amount of complexity the whole way. But that said, I'm just not sure, Andres, if I would want to do that because we're not using an integrated Claude inside of VS Code. Doesn't have context of the files that we changed. Doesn't have vision of the entire solution as a whole. So when you say go ahead and add the WebSocket in there, it changed its artifacts that it knew here in the browser, but then we'd have to go and make all these changes back to the files that we moved over into VS Code that we now own, which is something
Yeah,
that Q is actually starting to get really good at. If you're using that integrated into the browser, you can do the at workspace tag in your messages now, and it looks at the entire workspace in VS Code, builds that as a context object, and then can go in and make recommendations based on what you're actually working on.
yeah. Reading this, I don't think this does what I think it would do, right? Like I would provide it, let's say Lambda function handler here, like the file, and then, hey, let's
Mhm.
change this. Let's make it do this. Um, so yeah, it's
Yeah.
if you're doing dev work, getting it closer to your IDE is always the way to go, right? Where Copilot or Q really shine is you're just there, right? You're iterating, and it has the context of your whole IDE at that point where it's suggesting things with your structure, with your whatever you've done before, so, which is super nice.
Yep. So Michael liked what we're talking about with Q, and he asked why Q wasn't used for this, and it's because we were strictly testing Anthropic artifacts. That's the point of today. Now, next week, Andres, you want to do next week with Q? That's one that we haven't done yet.
Yeah, I like that.
So,
It's
okay,
we've been doing these AI starter projects, so
yeah,
makes sense to use Q and see where it gets us.
yeah. So we started. Really, the first one that we used was App Studio, which gave us a. I'm actually not very happy with what App Studio gave us, and then we used Anthropic, the artifacts, and looking at what was generated, I am happy with this. For 1 hour, very happy with where we're at. I can take what we have here, spend another hour on it, and
It
get this to work.
deployed.
And it deployed. What is it going to do? I don't actually know, but it could actually work. So I think next week what we'll do is basically replay, do this again, build the same type of app, but use Q the entire time. Now I know Q will build out plans and we can execute plans basically in the same manner that Claude did. So we'll test the validity of the the way that it writes its code and the resources necessary. Um,
Yeah, I do play. I mean, we are in the free version, so I do have a limited set of prompts per day. But I want to keep playing around with this, see if I can iterate it, and I'll keep everybody posted on the socials on when I
do
get
it.
time. Keep iterating this.
I'm not sure. I think we have reached a point of no return with artifacts with this project. You've taken it, you've modified it, and now you own it. If you want to
Yeah.
keep iterating, you will have to send that what you changed back to Claude to say, here's this file now, here's this file now, here's this file now. And it'll update its memory and build its context, but you're going to have to keep going back and forth and basically doing copy all and paste all.
Well, I would want this change. Hey, don't use WebSockets. Don't use API gateway sockets, and use Memento topics. See what it does, right? And maybe it simplifies the infrastructure a whole lot. Or use AppSync subscriptions or whatever, right? There's so many things you can try differently, which are easier
Don't
than
use that.
API
No,
gateway WebSockets.
we don't have to use AppSync. That's fine.
But
Something else,
Michael's
anything
here.
else.
Michael's listening to us.
Okay. So give me thumbs up, thumbs down, Andres, on artifacts. Let's hide the screen.
Oh, let me take it off. Right now it's a thumbs up for me. There's a lot of value I would get right now with just building things. I know you used it yesterday, so there's a thumbs up there. I used it yesterday a little bit too for some other stuff I'm doing. So
Yeah. And that's
it's
what I was.
definitely being super useful for me right now.
Mhm. Yeah. So I
Can
would
it?
take it, I would modify, give it back, and say go.
Yep. Can it be better? I see a lot of iteration that this can happen, right? Integrating with, look at that. Thank you, Jonathan. Integrating with VS Code or something like a plugin right there, right? You have the files and use that as context, I mean, just like Q does. So there's a lot of improvement, but day one, it's pretty useful. I can see it right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So two thumbs up for me. I see a lot of promise in this. I am very much looking forward to when inevitably that comes into a VS Code extension. Until then, I think right now I am going to be putting my eggs in the Q basket for accelerating. But we'll see next week. We'll see next week.
Yeah.
Maybe on Friday. I think we're doing this day early this week.
Yeah.
But okay. That was good. That we did a lot,
Yeah.
covered a lot of ground, a lot of cool things in 57 minutes. For anybody else that is hanging out, I am about to go on another stream in 3 minutes with Aaron Mikhail Staples from Launch Darkly, and we are going to. I'm going to pull the ultimate context switch, ditch AI completely, and we are going to be building an app in Cloudflare workers with
Nice.
Launch Darkly. So we're going to be looking at how you can use feature flags to update both the back end and the front end. I'm actually really excited about that. So no
Nice.
AWS, no AI, just managed services and Cloudflare. So I don't
Which are still
have
a
the
big thing.
link to
Still a big
that.
thing.
I don't have the link to that, but if you're on YouTube, just go to the Believe in Serverless YouTube channel. You can always go to believeinserverless.com/calendar at any time and look at the calendar of events and get the links from there.
I'm sending the
So
link out right
hopefully I
now.
will see a lot of you in 2 minutes. Andres, thank you, sir, for driving. This was a lot of fun, and I feel like I learned a lot. Oh yeah, and here you
Awesome.
go for the link for the next stream. All right.
Cool.
Thank you,
See
everybody.
you on the other
We
side. I'll be
will.
I'll be a visitor there. I'll be on the
All right. Talk to you guys later.
sidelines. See ya. Bye.